The fuel matrix, the Middle Lesser Narcissist. Continuing with the lesser school of narcissism, this video discusses some of the traits and also the fuel network of the Middle Lesser Narcissist, the MLN. The Middle Lesser Narcissist is similar to the Lower Lesser Narcissist, but he will have a slightly higher cognitive function. He will have a better degree of control on his fury, although this is still not significant because he is still a lesser. He is a charm-free zone as well, aggressive, but more likely to have regular employment and a slightly better energy level than the lower lesser. The fuel matrix for the Middle Lesser Narcissist is not extensive, however. This will consist of A. The primary source. Similar to the lower lesser, this is likely to be a family member, and if not, the intimate partner primary source will be kept in place through reliance on the narcissist and fear arising from displays of naked aggression. The intimate partner primary source will be frightened of the MLN, which will result in much of the fuel, both positive and negative, being provided out of a sense of obligation and fear. Just like the lower lesser, the intimate partner primary source will be heavily relied on by the middle lesser. B. Familial secondary sources will be similar to the situation of the lower lesser. This means that there will be a small number of familial secondary sources. It is highly likely that the narcissist will have alienated certain family members, and therefore they either do not form part of the fuel matrix, or, if they do, it is purely from the perspective of providing negative fuel, whereas the medium lesser will consider them as painted black. Those family members which are painted white will be few in number. C. Work secondary sources are more likely than the lower lesser. They will still be low in number, rarely being more than half a dozen, since the medium lesser will be regarded with some wariness by those who are regarded as friends who have witnessed, albeit not been on the receiving end of the medium lesser narcissist's ignited fury, which means they take the view that they are better staying on side with the medium lesser than being the subject of their notorious temper. D. Social secondary sources will also be limited in a similar way to that of the work secondary sources. The middle lesser will go out more often than the lower lesser, but his interests are not varied and will include certain regular haunts, for instance, a local bar, the racetrack, the gun range, the sporting venue, the gym, and so forth. There will be a reasonable number of social secondary sources that are turned over as a consequence of the repeated ignition of fury from the middle lesser, owing to the low control threshold. Those friends who remain friends do so for similar reasons as explained above. The middle lesser has some success in replacing those social secondary sources he loses. He will engage with the social secondary sources on a regular basis, for instance, 1 or 2 nights a week in the same bar, or playing darts or bowls with a similar group. He may draw some respect from elements of the social secondary circle as a consequence of directing his aggressions against a third party, for the benefit of a secondary source. That is purely serendipity for the middle lesser and not a conscious act. E. The middle lesser will have an intimate partner secondary source, usually just the one, during devaluation of the intimate partner primary source. The middle lesser has some interest and financial clout, which gives him a degree of appeal, and his swaggering confidence, although based on little, will draw some in. F. The middle lesser will have a number of tertiary sources, and will regularly draw both positive and negative fuel from these tertiary sources. The middle lesser is less concerned with the facade, in common with all lessers, compared to the mid-range and greater of our kind, and therefore will readily abuse, piss-take, and denigrate tertiary sources in the community. The middle lesser is also likely to make use of intimate tertiary sources as a consequence of one-night stands and the use of prostitutes if he is a somatic middle lesser narcissist.